The market is now looking poised for its next leg up. What was the huge change? Basically, the last two videos I've been putting out as saying, hey, don't catch a falling knife, as the market was obviously getting hit. And last week I was saying, hey, the market could continue lower, so manage your risk. That obviously did not happen. So what was the huge change? Basically, bigger picture is the Fed is now cutting. The chance of a Fed of cutting in December is now up to like 70 to 80%. Actually, I've read it's up to 85% as well, where prior weeks it was around like 25%. So there was a huge change in the Fed rate cut. Now, whatever might happen, we shall actually see. They could change it this next week. They're up and down with this. We just have to play it as it is. Either way, last week we had an undercut. Well, Friday, I suppose, an undercut last Friday, and then we did nothing but rally. It was a lower volume week because of the no trading on Thursday and then a half day on Friday. Either way, it still happened. So what are we looking for? Firstly, from last week, we were down about 6.5% from all-time highs, and now we're only 1% away from all-time highs. All gaps have been filled, so let me take these out of the way. Basically, what we're looking at here, we have a trend change, right? This is a downtrend line. That downtrend line has been broken. What I will be looking for personally is this is an anchor VWAP from this low. We are coming close to this prior level of supply around 68.70-ish. Well, what's the high of this? Yeah, 68.70. Let's just call it that in the cash index. So maybe we tag that and we start getting a little pullback into early next week, and that could potentially set a higher low. Now, if that happens, I have a potential reverse head and shoulder planned out here, which is typically a good reversal with continuation to the upside, right? And you can just say it's been basing as well. So really the global picture here, we haven't really done much since early September, and we just kind of been basing. Now, also, this is not just the Magnificent Seven. This is not just 7 stocks, 10 stocks, whatever, the heavyweights that are carrying up this market specifically last week. Look at what the equally weighted S&P 500 did, right? The entire market bounced last week, right? So again, what I did is I put an anchor VWAP from this low. The pullback would be a little bit deeper than what I would want if it tagged this anchor VWAP. Either way, if you just go about 50% of the move, you're probably looking at 188 to 187 area, 2.5% off of all-time highs. So a nice pullback, maybe a pullback to the inclining 8 EMA, and the blue line is the 21 EMA. However, overall, it's just been chopping sideways. This undercut and rally, so from failed moves comes fast move. It also tagged the 200 EMA. We might get a little breakout here and then a retest, and the overall market might continue to trend higher, especially with seasonality in the end of the year coming up. We might have some tailwinds on the long side. Let's look at the cash index for the NASDAQ 100. So last week we were down about 9% away from all-time highs, and now we're only 2.85% away from all-time highs. So we've had a very strong move last week. I am again looking for some sort of pullback. I have a reverse head and shoulder potential plan here. So that would put us, if it wants to tag the anchor VWAP, it would be about 24,732 or so. We have the 8 about to cross the 21. That'll probably happen on Monday, if not Tuesday, as long as price stays around here. Either way, I will be looking at a pullback to set a higher low. Now, something can happen for the downside. What we could get underneath this anchored VWAP, come back and tag it, and then maybe try and tag these lows again. That's not on the top of my list, but we cannot nor should not dismiss it as a possibility. We have to be on our toes. Right, we have to be prepared. Again, this is not just the heavyweights. This is the equally weighted of tech, the entire tech, basically. I'm sorry, not entire tech, but the equally weighted NASDAQ 100. The rest of the names, not just the heavyweights of the NASDAQ, moved last week. We're above anchor VWAP from the lows. We are above the anchor VWAP from all-time highs. Buyers are now in control. We have a downtrend line break. Now we look for a pullback buy entry for basically set a higher low and an area to risk against. Let's go into the Dow. Looking pretty good, strong week. IWM, the Russell 2000, same thing as RUT here, also had a very strong week, right? The entire market had a strong week last week, and that's because of the change in the Fed rate cuts. At least that's to my understanding. XLB, it found a support play, still ranging, nothing significant. XLC, Google is a top look for this week. I'll get into that shortly, but this is a name you want to be involved in. Google is the reason why XLC has been relatively strong, especially last week, because Netflix and Meta, I mean, they both had a little bit of a bounce, but Google is obviously the stronger name, as you'll see shortly. XLE kind of ranging here. We got a nice little higher low versus here, so we could go and tag this 92. Let's look at financials. Financials also had a pretty strong week after bouncing off the inclining flatlining, which is also a good thing. 200 EMA. Let's look at XXLI, just kind of ranging, not breaking out. XLK, we have a downtrend line break. It is tagging the anchor VWAP from the prior high. So this is an area of potential supply. However, what I will again be looking for is a pullback on Monday or Tuesday. I am expecting it to be shallow. And then look for an entry to risk against for continuing on up. And we'll go over the names shortly here. XLP hitting prior supply, nothing crazy. XLRE, nothing crazy. XLU, utilities. I will take a look at these as well. We have a channel. It broke that, double bottomed here, broke these highs, and closed above these highs. So you can indeed call this a double bottom. It was basically a breakout and a retest with like a double retest, right? And now this looks pretty good for continuation. So XLU looks nice. I will look into those names. Healthcare continues to be strong. I've been saying this over the past few videos. So this just continues to break out, time correct, 8 EMA, breakout, time correct, probably maybe a price correction this time. 8 EMA is around 155.60. So continue to look at healthcare. XLY, it's back in range here. Maybe we're going to go tag the opposite end range. We just need some sort of catalyst here. IBIT, this doesn't look the best. Same thing with Bitcoin here. Yeah, IBIT tracks Bitcoin, right? Obviously, this is pretty oversold, and a bounce is anticipated at some point in time. Could this go lower? Absolutely. Do I think it needs more time to kind of chop around, find a bid, hold a bid, and to turn back up? Yes, I do. Trading wise, I'm just not super interested in it. XBI, Biotech, look how strong this is, right? So biotechs might be of interest to you. And then also SMH, semiconductors. We have a nice downtrend line break. We can look at a pullback maybe to the anchor VWAP area. That would be a little bit more deeper than what I would like. However, it's not out of the question. So SMH looks pretty decent too. Now, I do want to go over, I've been seeing a lot of gold and silver charts on FinX basically. And so I figured I would cover them because I believe a good majority of them are right. As a commodity trader, this also gives me information. So basically we have a gap here from the Monday, October 20th to Tuesday, October 21st. From 394.20 to 388.89, we might get that gap fill this week. We basically have this supply area that we are resting in now. I wouldn't be shocked if we got that gap fill on Monday. So gold is a long watch for the week, as well as silver. Silver has downtrend line here, very shallow one, nothing significant. You got a nice little cup, little handle here, and then a breakout. We can go to natural gas as well. It is hitting the flatlining now, not declining. It's starting to flatten out. 200 EMA. It's been a while since it's tagged it, and every time it has tagged it, it has failed. However, we have a nice little consolidation here. I do think natural gas here to $16-ish is realistic for the week, and then oil, it's nothing significant here. Let's move on to the heavyweights of the market. Microsoft. Didn't mean to move that. It's not necessarily broken. It's a little bent. It did tag the 200 EMA. However, it's just not. It doesn't look the best. I'm not interested personally this week. NVIDIA also does not look the best. It's basically just back in this chop zone. Earnings is basically questionable with what I went over last week. Apple. Apple is a very strong name. This should be on top of your watch list for the week. We finally have a little bit of closure above these highs. All right, we got it. Nice little consolidation range here. So I am certainly looking for continuation this week in Apple. It's a strong name. It's one of the leaders of the heavyweights at the moment. So Apple should be on top of your list. Amazon, it's not anything spectacular right now. It's a waste of energy, honestly. AVGO, Broadcom, that is, breaking out to all-time highs. Nice little push. I won't be chasing it up here. That's for sure no. But what I would do if I were you, and what I will be doing, is watching for a time correction for the 8 EMA or price correction to retest the breakout area of, I don't know, let's call it 375 to 380 area you can risk against. Meta, it's not of interest just yet. I would expect, we got a nice little bounce because it was super oversold, right? We should not be surprised here. We got a nice gap fill there. We still have a couple of gaps below. I wouldn't be shocked if we get some sort of pullback to retest this area. I'd be looking for a higher low, but I'm just not super interested. And at Netflix, kind of the same story. Just kind of little bent. It is downtrending. We're getting lower highs and lower lows. Tesla looks pretty decent. As long as it can accept back into this range and stay within this range, maybe we get a little setup to a breakout into the beginning of 2026. Maybe we get a little rally up to this end of range throughout December. We could get a little breakout, but it's been a little hard to trade recently. I would love a breakout and just for a strong move out of it. Another top name, Google. This is what I was saying earlier. It has been super strong ever since there was news that Berkshire bought. There was a big old gap up, and it's just been strong ever since. Basically, it has broken out of this consolidation here. It retested it, and then it was off to the races. So I will be looking for a pullback or a time correction and an area to risk Google, and because it just looks great, honestly. CrowdStrike. I'm pretty sure this has earnings this week on Tuesday. So I won't be touching that. Shoot, did I miss any other earnings? I don't think I did. Let me just click through here. Broadcom's not next week. Okay, good. So CrowdStrike is there. I know there's a few other names in that area. Now, ServiceNow. This looks like a potential short on market weakness. It's respecting the downtrending 8 EMA. I still think we get this gap fill here. 776.63 is a target, potentially 744. And, 678.44 is not out of the question, in my opinion. It's broken. It's a waste of time. Palantir, we get a nice little retest. I said 140s is not unrealistic. We did indeed get 147.56. It was close to the 200 EMA, which is now starting to flatten, which isn't bad. So this is just basing. However, it is still, well, I guess it technically broke the downtrend line there. So what I would look for this name to show strength is a higher low. It is not above the anchor VWAP from all-time highs. That is around 177.66. So we could get a little pinch here. Maybe not next week. In the following week, we could potentially get a breakout. And then Robinhood, this has broken the downtrend line. A very nice move last week. This is another name I am very interested in getting involved in, simply because of how volatile it is. It is back in this range. I would anticipate maybe 147. This top of the range to be target here. It is above the short-term EMAs. We could get a little 821 cross / pinch this week. Either way, it looks good. So to kind of recap, going with heavyweights specifically going into the week, top of list, Apple. Actually, really the only three that I will be focusing on is Apple, Google. Those are tier 1, and tier 2, I'll toss in Hood there. Otherwise, all other names need some work. On the commodities side, I would say natural gas, gold, and silver. Those are top 3 on that side to keep an eye out. Hopefully these videos are valuable for you. I try to keep them short and sweet and to the point, yet adding some extra insights and value. So if you like, please share, subscribe, comment below. Let me know your thoughts. Otherwise, trade well, manage your risk, and we'll see you next week. Later.